They're actions. When you have a thought, you act on it. So that may mean verbally you communicate something, but if verbal communication is hard for you because of poor motor planning, low muscle tone, poor body awareness, all those issues that interfere with an autistic being able to learn to speak, then they're going to act on their thoughts and feelings rather than, and that's how they're going to express their thoughts and feelings. Oh, I'm thinking, oh, it's time on TV for my favorite program. So what do? They stand up and run into the other room to turn on the TV. Well, they had a thought, they acted on it.
Yeah.
They're communicating to you, I know what time it is, and it's time for my favorite program. Let's go watch it.
Hi, I'm Staci Neustadt. I am a speech language pathologist and the CEO at Making Sense of Autism, and I'm a student of Susan.
And I'm Susan Golubock. I am a now retired occupational therapist who has worked many, many years after I discovered even my own autism with other autistic individuals. I founded Making Sense of Autism because of my passion to not only understand my brain and how it worked differently, but to try to explain what I've learned to other people so that they're more understanding and therefore more accepting and more accommodating to autistic individuals.
So our goal is to help you provide the right support without trying to fix autism, but by understanding it. So whether you're a parent, teacher, therapist, or just someone who wants to learn, you're in the right place. Be sure to subscribe and join us every week. We talk about a new topic. So as a speech language pathologist, I love augmentative and alternative communication. I am a big advocate for total communication. I believe all modes should be recognized and praised and acknowledged in any moment. But as your experience as an autistic occupational therapist, why do you feel it's so important for professionals to recognize and support all forms of communication, including AAC, gestures, behavior, and even what some might call non-purposeful actions?
Staci, every person on earth uses multiple modes of communicating. They don't just stand there blankly and use words, verbal communication. They're gestures, some are more gesture prone than others. You know, their body language, how they stand, giving eye contact, all of those kinds of things are there. Tone of voice, all those are forms of communication that subconsciously other people pick up on to know whether to believe the words that someone is saying, or to understand the words that people are saying, etc. It's just that they don't think about other than communication is exchanging verbal words. That's what they're consciously aware of because that's what you see and hear around you are people. The other things are all processed subconsciously. So if they get stuck on it, then they think that is the only way. I mean, you're not communicating if you're not using words because that's the subconscious bias in their head that says this is how people communicate. And so they invalidate subconsciously other forms as not valid ways of communicating. I mean, they're there, but they think about it. So what we're trying to do is get them to become aware that you're taking in a lot more information from a lot of other sources. Now, people today, in years past, technology wasn't something that was an everyday occurrence.
Yeah.
But now it is, because you've got your smartphone. So you do a lot of typing. You communicate not with words, but written words. You keyboard, computers. So using a form of technology to communicate is no big deal now. But if it looks different, like an AAC device, because it's not a standard keyboard, which is what you use. So therefore, it's incomprehensible. And so forth, it's automatically dismissed. Well, I don't have the time to sit there and watch them push buttons. But if that's the most effective way that a kid can point, maybe he can't keyboard, because that requires multiple dexterity in your fingers. And maybe they only have, hopefully, one at least finger that they can press a button or a switch. That is their only way. Are you going to dismiss what they're trying to tell you because it's different? We have to be open to multiple forms of communication.
Yeah. And especially even the gestures. Like I know oftentimes when I get into households, sometimes I get into households where the child isn't even pulling a parent to something yet, which tells me they don't quite get the function of communication yet, where maybe it's literally they're just crying, but that's how they get their needs met. And so we kind of build on that and, demonstrate the importance of communication. But I think, like you said, it's this subconscious bias of a child pointing and someone not accepting it and saying, use your words, or pulling to something. And don't get me wrong, of course, as a speech pathologist and even as parents, like their goal is they want oral speech, they want communication. So oftentimes it's educating them on like, we want communication. Like, who cares what it looks like? We just want communication. And then really being a detective and seeing what are they communicating. So whether it's a child pulling you to variety, different rooms in their house, well, that's communicating. They're trying to share. Look at this is my bedroom. This is my kitchen. Like, don't dismiss that, or don't think, it's odd. They're communicating with you. And I think that is the biggest obstacle, is still that bias within so many of us of, you have to communicate this way because that's what your goal says. You have to communicate this way because that's what we're working on, instead of just walking in with an open mind of, how are you going to communicate today? Because I think if we don't observe all of that, we're missing out on the other ways people communicate. If we're only reinforcing, oh, they asked for a cookie or they asked for milk, we're only going to get requests. But if we observe and see the other ways they're communicating, then they're going to communicate in a variety of ways. So what would you say is maybe one of the biggest misconceptions or missed communication that non-autistics don't pick up on, that autistics are using to communicate?
Their actions. When you have a thought, you act on it. So that may mean verbally you communicate something, but if verbal communication is hard for you because of poor motor planning, low muscle tone, poor body awareness, all those issues that interfere with an autistic being able to learn to speak, then they're going to act on their thoughts and feelings rather than, and that's how they're going to express their thoughts and feelings. Oh, I'm thinking, oh, it's time on TV for my favorite program. So what do? They stand up and run into the other room to turn on the TV. Well, they had a thought, they acted on it.
Yeah.
They're communicating to you, I know what time it is, and it's time for my favorite program. Let's go watch it. But instead you say, no, wait a minute, we're not done with this. And where are you going? Stop. And they try to stop the behavior as inappropriate because they got up and walked away, instead of telling them, I want to watch my favorite program. And so So, but they just did communicate that. If you would only look at what they
Yes.
did, um, and that's logical. And this is why I think a lot of people don't understand. They can't imagine how a child doesn't understand the purpose of communication. But if no one's listening to you, you don't see a purpose to it.
Yeah.
What is the point of communicating when no one hears me? No one is listening or understanding. Why should I bother? So
Yes.
they simply don't. They stop making any effort to communicate.
And meet their own needs. Exactly. And I see that so much. The example you just gave, I feel like could be applied over and over again to what I see with therapists who maybe are still, shifting to this new lens, or parents shifting to this new lens. It's just like you said, we have this agenda, they're not doing it, but yet they are communicating. They're getting up, and instead of yelling at them for communicating nonverbally,
Mhm.
acknowledge, oh, you went to go turn your TV show on. You must be telling me I want to watch TV. That's how kids learn language, when we put the language to the motivation.
Yes,
But instead, we're yelling at them. So, of course, why aren't they going to communicate?
they're not learning the words to communicate because
Yes.
you're not giving them those words that you would if right on that spot you translated what their actions meant into words so that maybe the next time they might pick up one or two that like TV, and they
Yes.
will next time before they get up and run to it they'll say TV
Yes.
because that's easy to say. And and but you have to use that word in connection with their action to tell them what they actually did and how you interpreted it. Now, you may misinterpret. I mean, we all do
Oh, for
misinterpret
sure.
what people say, but then that gives them the chance to validate. No, that's not what I mean. No, no,
Hmm.
no. Now you're helping them see they're communicating back to you. They heard you and they're responding to you
Absolutely. And of
by
course,
just telling you.
oh, go ahead.
No, by just by telling you that they're
Oh,
acting a response. You want them to comment to learn how to comment, not just request. Well, they're
yes.
commenting. No, you didn't get that right.
Exactly. And we're definitely not saying like, oh, you have to give every request, if they're going to watch TV and it's not time to watch TV, but still recognize that, still label it, still give them the language so that they know, oh, wow, you get me. You understood what I was communicating. You can say, I see you want to watch TV. Oh, look, we're not done with this puzzle. Let's put it on our schedule. We'll finish this puzzle, then we'll go watch TV. That's a great idea. You can always incorporate, but acknowledging it is such an important piece. And then, going to behaviors, I have a client I saw this week who he is very into conversation, but sometimes it can be overwhelming. So we had both just gotten back from vacation. So I brought it up and he started spitting at me. And of course, we view it as a behavior, but instantly I was like, because I know him and I know he's not trying to be mean, I reminded him, oh, remember, if you don't want to talk about something that I brought up, or I thought you wanted to talk about, you can give me a thumbs down. What did he do instantly? He looked at me and he did thumbs down. He just forgot. And then the rest of our session, anytime a topic came up, and this is a trauma kiddo, where we're teaching self-advocacy. He's 3 years old, so I honor that self-advocacy. The whole rest of the session, anytime a topic or I was talking too much or something came up that he was indicating like, hey, stop, I don't like this, he used the thumbs down. So that's another one where if you can provide those opportunities for gestures, it's huge because it is a great replacement for those behaviors. And it gives self-advocacy. So
Because see, gestures, you can't see what your mouth is doing to make it form the words. You don't see your own mouth unless you're in a mirror.
Yeah,
But gestures, you can watch yourself. You can learn those actions by doing it, even if you can't feel what your hand is doing, you can see whether it's doing it. So
mhm.
you have more control over your hand gestures because you can see whether it's what you want it to be. And you can change it based on vision when you lack the awareness of your muscles and joints. By because otherwise you're not aware of what you're doing if you're not looking at it, because you don't
Yeah,
get sensory input from your body. But you're compensating by using your vision. So hand gestures are a beautiful way to teach them. And it can happen very successfully. Now they may not do it exactly the way you do it. It's an approximation is good enough as long as the
absolutely.
message gets across.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest takeaway today is we all use lots of modes of communication. So do not restrict your child, your client, your student to one mode. We all use a lot.
Now I want to bring up one more point,
Yeah.
and about the AAC.
Yes.
And as working in a school district, and AAC was part of it, I learned very quickly that a lot of parents say, oh, it just sits in the closet. He won't use it
Yeah.
because they're expecting him to communicate in one way while they're communicating in a different way. It's like I
Mhm.
get to speak English, but you have to speak French.
Yeah.
And no, we want to be on the same wavelength. That's communication. So if they need to use an AAC device to communicate to you, you need to use that AAC device to communicate to them. And therefore,
Absolutely.
now it's a joint relationship communication. Otherwise, it feels unequal, i.e., no, you get to do the easy way and I have to do the hard way. And no, so I don't want to communicate at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I oftentimes will print out light tech AAC, especially if the child is, this is my device, don't touch it. If a school is lucky enough to have multiple iPads or devices, that's wonderful. But if not, you can just reach out to
Mhm.
the companies and they'll even send you some light tech boards that you can use to model and communicate as well. And that is huge. And I find that students who or clients that have people in their environment who use the device as much, if not more than them, really embrace that communication. It's the same as if you're using gestures and sign language. You're going to
Right.
use those with the individual. And it's that reciprocal relationship of we're communicating in the
Mhm.
same way.
If they're a Gestalt learner, you learn their phrases and
Yes.
you start to use them and then model how they might modify them.
Yes.
But start using the language they're using, their mode of communication. Engage in it. Don't think, oh, they have to achieve my way, so I will only use my way so that they eventually learn my way. And you ignore what they're doing. That's not communication.
Yeah,
Communication has to be two ways.
absolutely. So recognize the communication, use the communication that they're using, and just accept all modes of communication because we all use them. So
Mhm.
wonderful, great awareness of some of those biases. I know we all have, but part of the change is bringing awareness to it and then making purposeful change each day. Wonderful. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Staci.